Hello, good evening. We are going to be prepping tonight. We got some interesting Halloween activities tonight. If you've been following Food Talk TV, you know that we traditionally this week have done a bunch of sweet dishes, and I'm going to do a Halloween savory dish tonight. So, welcome in. Feel free to stay if you'd like. And I'm going to be making two dishes tonight. As soon as our other folks come in, I am going to be making uh, the first dish tonight is actually going to be using cauliflower, sorry. I had broccoli on my mind earlier today. And the second dish is actually going to be using ground beef. Now you can substitute the ground beef for anything you want. Um, and they're both traditional recipes. We're gonna spook them up tonight and make them look a little bit cool for our Halloween season. So welcome in. I hope you all want to stay. We'll be starting right at 7. In the meantime, if you've got some questions, if you saw the earlier post, I'm happy to respond to them. If any of you have questions in general in regard to Food Talk TV, please feel free to put them in. I'm not in the camera right now because I am actually looking at my phone until one of our team comes in, so I can actually see comments. So welcome everybody, and I hope you join us. For with me tonight, I'm Frank underscore Mentor SF. I am part of the Food Talk team, and I also happen to be the person who handles the blog. So that's me. And I am going to be making two recipes tonight. I'm going to be making a braised cauliflower brain, which is a very traditional Italian dish. It's just braised cauliflower with crushed tomatoes. And I'm also going to be doing baked innards. And if you saw Kaz's live last night, we're going to be doing a savory version of what he did, a sweet version. And I'm going to be using pizza dough. Here, I'll actually show you. I've already started to roll them out in my little tiny kitchen. I'm going to be taking pizza dough and I'm going to stuff them with a ground meat mixture. We're going to bake them. You know what, Akra, you can use ground turkey. I'm using ground beef. I prefer ground beef, but or actually, I apologize. I think this is meatloaf mix. I think I mixed them, but you can use any ground meat for this recipe. And the secret is to how to make these look a little scarier than just baking them in dough. And that's some of the secrets I'll share tonight. Also, I don't know how many of you have seen that latest hack around crushed tomatoes, and I'm going to talk about that tonight. It actually works. But yes, you can use ground turkey for this recipe. It totally is fine. As a matter of fact, you can even use any kind of alternative meat. If you wanna, if you're not meat based, if you're meat free, this recipe will actually work the same way. You just want to use some kind of meat alternative that'll give you the texture. And as I walk through it, it's really about texture and colors. Do I like ground chuck? To be honest, I am I'm a ground beef eater. I will if it's ground and it's low in fat, I will probably eat it. I mean, if I'm at the butcher and I want something fresh ground, I will do that. But I definitely like ground meat. I love meatloaf. I love burgers. I love Salisbury steak. I sometimes think I prefer ground meat over enjoying a roast. But that's just me. Probably because it's more packetable and easier to eat. Let me double check and see if Ashley is in yet. I do not see Ashley in yet, so she'll be joining us shortly. I'm a little bit early. But great questions, thanks. If anybody has any other questions, so Food Talk TV is a collaboration of 10 creators. We all have our own accounts. They'll be on tonight. Yeah, Salisbury steak is totally, matter of fact, now that I can make it in the Instapot, I love it. But yeah, we're a group of 10 creators, 10, maybe 11. We're always looking for new creators. And most of us have only met through this relationship. Some of us have actually gotten to be able to travel. But we came together during COVID and we all had a love and a passion for cooking and sharing, most importantly. So some of us are actually have worked in the professional industry. Some of us are going back into the profession. In my case, I have a regular job. My profile, if you look at my personal profile, is sort of all over the map, but I cook and I have grown up cooking. I had both parents who cooked. I cooked through my way as a short order cook. And in short order restaurants, I was a third chef in a French restaurant for a year or so. But then I had my passions elsewhere. But I continued to cook. So do I eat meat a lot? Probably about 50-50. I try to do some meat-free dishes every week. As a matter of fact, the dish I'm doing with the cauliflower is the dish I would normally make as a meat-free night. So what am I making tonight? I'm going to be making a braised cauliflower with my oven is clean. It's only a little bit clean from earlier. I'm making a braised cauliflower with crushed tomatoes as a braising liquid. And when the final result, hey there, Brad. Um, I know let's see. Ashby Cooking is coming in the box, but Bradley, if you want to come in the box as well, let me know. So this is Frank. Hi, Nicole. I am Frank underscore mentor SF. I used to come on a lot more, but my current assignment with work has really limited. But I'm the person who actually does a lot of the behind the scenes stuff with the website and the blog, especially. So I try to jump in. I try to get in the box whenever possible as well. I'm well, thank you. I'm trying to stay dry. I'm here up at the Cape, and it is been a little bit wet. So, but that's where I'm doing. So, welcome. So, folks, please hang out. We're going to be making, as I said, we're going to be making a cauliflower brains in a braising liquid. Now, this is actually a very traditional, old school Italian American dish. I've seen recipes out of Italy, but normally they don't leave the cauliflower whole. They'll break it up. Uh, so, Joanne, I am still in P-Town. Yes, I am still in P-Town. Um, So this recipe, both recipes I'm doing tonight are flexible. Don't be too concerned. If you have different seasonings, if you have something alternative, if you want to adapt it, these are great recipes for you to have some fun and adapt. If you have kids, the baked innards or intestines that I'm going to be making, the dough intestines, the baked pizza dough, they're great for kids. It's a great hands-on kid event. So right now, the only thing I have is a little bit of olive oil in both pans, just because I was trying to figure out which way I was going to go. Is the meat ready to go in the pan? Yes. As a matter of fact, it will be going in the pan once I kick off officially in a few minutes. Because I am working from the beach house, I don't have my traditional setup, so I'm standing behind the camera so I can actually see your comments until one of our creators jumps in the live. Thanks for the questions, everybody. Please feel free to hang out, visit, talk. We're doing two recipes tonight. I am doing a ground meat filling with some dough. I'm using a standard pizza dough, actually, and I'm going to roll them up for and making your intestines, so to speak. It's a little bit gross, but remember, it's Halloween in a few weeks. And then I am going to be doing a braised cauliflower, quotes, brain, in a crushed tomato sauce. Now, this is one of my favorite dishes. It's a great side dish. No problem. You can ask any questions you want as long as they make sense to the cooking questions. This is part of our whole platform. Food Talk TV is all about people being able to ask questions, be able to learn, and probably one of the biggest things that I'm an advocate for. Recipes are great. Recipes are really important. I get that. We all want recipes, but when you've made a recipe once, it's time to explore. Change the ingredients, change the herbs, change the meats. Sometimes it's really exciting to change it up. So I'm using what is handy. As a matter of fact, my friends here, this was the last weekend for a lot of people who did a lot of stuff from their garden, and they pulled stuff out. So I'm using a lot of the vegetables and herbs that I'm using came right from the garden. So what's on the menu tonight? We are doing a braised cauliflower brain, in quotes, and we're going to be making some meat stuffed innards. So it's going to be a little bit interesting. And if you had a chance to see the story I did earlier, there's a picture of them, and I will be posting these up on our blog shortly. And I have some of at least one of these I will have as a TikTok later. So let me see if let me see if I do not see Ashby Cooking was going to go in the box. Now, there are several of us, as I said, in Food Talk TV. Chef Bradley is here in with us, and thank you, Chef Bradley. I'm so happy to have him. He has, oh, there we go. And he has been a newest family that has jumped in and just is there constantly. And tonight is my first night I am online with Ashby Cooking, and I am so excited. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? I'm so excited to
I'm
see it comes together, like see your whole process. I saw the
oh
story and that's the best spooky food idea I've seen. That is
well,
awesome.
I one of these recipes I've been making since I was in college. The other one I saw one day a couple years ago. It's actually a very traditional Italian recipe my mom made, and I was thinking about it, going, "Oh, if I didn't cut the cauliflower up, it looks like a brain." So that's where we're going. So, actually, Chef Bradley is in the room. I'm going to move so you can actually see me start to work. Tell me how this looks. Is this good for you all?
I can see all the whole setup really good. If we need a better angle or something, I'll let you know. And hey, Chef
Great.
Bradley.
All right, so let's kick off. It's a little bit of back and forth because I've got some timing. In these two pans, this pan has just got a little olive oil on it, and I am going to turn my pans on about medium high. The pan behind this is also got olive oil on it. Now the braising liquid for the cauliflower brains, because there's no fat, I put a little more olive oil in this. In this pan, I'm actually going to be using ground meat. So I am throwing that in. I just put a little bit of olive oil in it for mostly for flavor as this starts to sizzle and brown. I've already preheated my oven, and I do not want to overcrowd my pan because I actually do want this to stay a little bit of texture. So I don't want it to get too broken up, but I also want it to be small enough. So once I get this in the pan and it starts to sizzle down, I'm going to go wash my hands. So pardon my back.
And make sure you guys are tapping those screens. We got over 150 people in here. I love to see it. Yeah, so thank you guys for joining. This is gonna wrap up our spooky recipes. So this is gonna they saved the best for last. So I can't wait to see this. I'm so excited.
Oh, thank you. All right, so what I am doing now is we're gonna double track tonight. I am gonna have to go back and forth. Right now, I'm making the stuffing for the intestines, and if you saw last night's live with Kaz, he made a sweet version of this, and he did brains and intestines. I'm doing a savory version. And in a lot of ways, they're not. They're kind of similar. And this is actually a dish. If you don't want to make intestines shaped, you can just keep them long, or you can roll them, and they're fine. All right. So what I did is I have put some ground meat on to start to brown. In the back here, I have some olive oil. Now, how many of you have heard? Hey, Ash and Brad, have you heard about the new way to make crushed tomatoes?
No, but I see the little slits you put in there.
So normally we buy crushed tomatoes in a can, right? But
Uh huh.
everybody around here was harvesting, and I must have had like three big bowls. So I've been making a lot of tomato dishes. And I thought, how can I make a quick crushed tomato that doesn't require me to boil them? Well, the secret is wash them, make
Mm-hmm.
a slit. Can you see that? Crisscross slit.
Yeah.
Freeze them.
Freeze
Give
them.
them
Okay.
24. Freeze them just like that. Don't even put them in a bag. All I did was make a slit, and this happens to be a green tomato just because this was one of the colors they gave me. I put a slit. When you put them in the freezer and they come out about an hour and a half, make sure you put them in a bowl. They shrink, and the skin literally peels right off. And all I did was normally, or what I did in alternatively, is I peel them. I take a scissors, I cut this piece off, and I squish them with my hands. Now I have super fresh tasting crushed tomatoes. when I'm trying to use up. Now, if I were doing this, and I still might, I still have a batch, at that point they're crushed. I would maybe put salt, pepper, maybe cook them for 5 minutes just to get the fresh rawness out. Put them in a Ziploc bag, let them cool flat, and I would freeze them. And that means in the middle of the summer or in the middle of the winter, I now have fresh crushed tomatoes. So this was something flying through TikTok I had never heard. I was like, no way. Guess it works. On the other hand, you can also use plain old-fashioned crushed tomatoes. Now, the reason I'm heating these, let me lower that, even though they are already cooked, is canned crushed tomatoes have a fresh flavor, but they also have a bit of a tinny from being canned. So I want to cook these for about 5, maybe 10 minutes to get that tinny flavor, canned flavor out. So in that pan, all I've done is I've added the crushed tomatoes, and I'm sort of guesstimating because I'm going to be using a cauliflower that's not as big as I normally do. And then I want to keep it at a medium heat because this can simmer. It can, as I'm doing my other activities, for a few minutes because it will then cook further in the stove.
That makes sense.
Yeah, but I was thrilled when I. Yep. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was gonna say that trick is really cool with the tomato because I've seen people do like the blanching. I've blanched a peach before, and the peeling it'll just come right off. But I never thought to freeze it. That's like crazy. I gotta try it now.
Yeah, I'm dying to find out if that will work for fruits as well. But technically speaking, a tomato is a fruit, not a
Yeah.
vegetable. So
Okay.
I think if it's got a thin enough peel, it might work. All right. So what I'm trying to do here is I'm just heating up and cooking off the crushed tomatoes. And while I'm in the other pan, what I've got is some ground meat. I put already a little bit of salt and pepper in it, and I got to cook that off as well. So while I've got them both kind of doing their things and making a mess, there goes my clean space. Now I'm going to add some more of the ground meat. I didn't want to put it all in at once because I wanted to have some space. I'm going to wash my hands.
Now,
All right.
question: have to defrost the tomatoes before peeling them, or were they looked still pretty cold? So when we
Yeah,
got
they need to defrost they defrost pretty quickly. So I defrosted them in a bowl. And actually, I did them in a bowl like this because I wanted to save the liquid. And what I did is after I peeled and crushed them, if they were too thick, if I had too much pulp and I wanted to thin it, I added some of the frozen water back.
oh, okay, wow, look at
But it
you.
took about room temperature. It only took maybe 2 hours. They come back pretty quickly from thawing. All right, so into the tomato sauce, which has got a nice boil. I am just going to add onions. Nothing special, just plain old fashioned onions. You could use scallions, you could use green onions, you could use peppers. In this case, I was using onions for the meat preparation, so I did a half and half. So now, again, I'm going to lower this because it's making a mess, and it should not be. I don't know about you, but when I work with tomato sauce, it just makes me crazy. I am, for those of you who know, when I cook from San Francisco, I have a gas grill. I have yet to figure out effectively these electric stoves. All right, so in there now, I also have 2 bay leaves. And can you see that? Those are all herbs from the garden. So there's fresh oregano, there is thyme and parsley. And this was the last of the herbs from the garden. That's all going in. And this is a very herbaceous, I love that word, herbaceous dish. So you can add more. And I've also added a couple pieces of sage and a couple pieces of fresh rosemary. And I'm just going to I'm just going to simmer this while I prep the rest of it. Basically, I want to just cook this down until it doesn't taste raw, and I can start to taste the. I can start to really taste the herbs and the tomatoes. Ash, do you want to talk a little bit about Food Talk TV while I get ready for the next step? I don't think I can hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry about that. Um, so what I was saying is we have a few food talk members in here right now. Shout out to all of you that have joined, and for those of you watching, we're just a group of home cooks, some semi-professional, some with culinary school, but we all have different styles, you guys, and we bring something different. Each one of us has a different style, and we go live every day. One of us will be live every day, and we also put all our recipes on the website. So make sure you're following us, tap those screens, and don't miss any of our recipes or our lives. So it looks like he's got the meat grain separated, and he's still working on his sauce and the onions in the back.
Right. All right. So in the background, right here, just switch them out a little bit because I'm almost done. I've got the crushed tomatoes with onions, bay leaf, and herbs, and pepper, and make sure I put enough salt. Cauliflower can be really bland, okay? All right. Now, if you noticed, I already drained my, sorry about that. This is super hot. Let me transfer over to a there we go. So cauliflower can be really bland, as many people know, but blandness in a food often means that it will absorb flavor. So first thing I am going to do is I'm going to peel my cauliflower, and I'm going to leave the inner pieces, but I want to keep it whole. And then what I'm also going to do with the knife on the cutting board is I'm going to make a little bit of a hash. And what does that do? Because you know, in a brain, the brain is divided into two sides, the left side and the right side. Well, what
Right.
this does is while it cooks, it swells, and when it's done, it makes you have. Because remember, this is Halloween food. Now, if you were going to make this for a regular meal, you could just break up the cauliflower. Not a problem at all.
This
All
is
right,
so.
and the reason what's that?
Now I was telling them this is so cool, and if they didn't know, this is the last of our spooky recipe series. So yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. There's a reason why you're doing the slits in there so that it looks like a brain, right?
Yes.
Awesome.
So I have some diced up garlic here, and I am putting that in the sauce. Now, I didn't put the garlic in the sauce while it was on the fire because I don't want it to overcook because it's still going to go in the oven. All right, next step. I've got my brains pretty much good to go. I've got my sauce getting ready. Now let's finish playing with the ground meat, okay? Just making sure that the ground meat is broken up. In the ground meat, I am going to put salt, red pepper flakes, garlic, everything but the seasoning, fennel, black pepper, and cinnamon. Why? Because the cauliflower dish is very traditional Italian flavors. I didn't want the meat dish to have the same profile. I happen to love a Middle Eastern dish that I get a lot that has ground meat in it that adds cinnamon, and I absolutely love it. So it's something I decide and I use in mine. It changes it up a little bit. And cinnamon is definitely one of those that you can use both in savory cooking and sweet cooking. So the residual heat now is beginning to warm up those spices. What else am I going to add to it? Plain old fashioned white beans. I took these out of the can earlier. I washed them. I dried them a little bit, and now I'm going to gently mix them in a little.
Very gently so you don't crush everything up, right? And mush it.
That's right. And now plain old-fashioned rice. Now, if I had a thicker rice, I would have used it. This, I'll be honest, I went to my local um, Chinese market, the Chinese restaurant, and I just bought rice today because I didn't have time and I knew I didn't have a rice cooker and I just didn't want to be fussing.
Nothing wrong with that.
No, I'm okay with these do-ahead pieces. All right,
Yeah.
so we now have almost all of our stuffing ready.
Yummy yum.
All right, so this is just a little bit of tomato paste and mixed up with just a little bit of water. And I'm going to be using it later, but here I just want to add some red coloring to the food. Not a lot, just enough, because these are going to be intestines. This is the stuffing. Anybody know what the white rice is supposed to signify?
I know that. Someone guess. So this
What
is a
does somebody guess?
someone guess. What is the white supposed to be in this spooky recipe? What does rice look like? White rice. What do you guys think? So just like Granny said, worms.
Well, the white rice are the maggots. But
Oh, now she said
Ashton,
larvae or maggots. Yep, you guys are getting it right.
speaking of worms, I got you covered for worms.
Yes, there's your worms, Ashton. So we got it all. This
I
is
got some ramen noodles. These were already pre-cooked. I just soaked them in hot water and drained them because I didn't really want to break them apart. I didn't want to overcook them. Now we have our innards. And then I'm going to show you how we're going to stuff these in a little bit. So now I've got my insides. Can you see that?
yeah. So one more time. So we have the rice, which will represent like a maggot, and we have the pasta to look like worms. Was the beans? What was the beans? And the meat is just like insides, right?
The meats are just like what you would see in your intestine. The beans end up looking like grubs.
Oh, cool. That is just you're so creative for thinking of this awesome spooky recipe. Be sure you're tapping
All
those
right.
screens.
And the nice thing is, and I often will do these together, if I want a little bit more red look, that's why I take my other sauce.
Mm-hmm.
Not a problem, because it's hot, it'll melt it together. There you go. Now, where is the last thing I'm going to put while this cools is, of course, because it wouldn't be one of my recipes without some kind of cheese. Oops. And that would be my grated cheese. I don't put a lot of salt in this because, quite frankly, I knew I was putting grated cheese in that. The grated cheese is going to make it salty, and as everything cooks, it'll be absorbed flavor-wise. All right, we now have your inside stuffing for our intestines.
Am I weird? I still find that appetizing.
What's that?
I said, am I weird that I still find that appetizing, even though after everything you just said?
Yeah, I mean, well, that's the whole point. If I was going to make this with dough or an empanada stuffing or a stromboli, matter of fact, I have more of this all mixture. I'll probably make like a stromboli tomorrow with most of this. All right,
Yes.
I'm going to I'm going to put it aside for a few minutes. So, folks, what we're making tonight are the last two dishes in our spooky series. I'm trying to clean up my modified. As you can see, I have a very small kitchen here at the beach, so I've got to make do with multiple pieces. Um, and I am going to shift here.
Guys, be sure you're following us. All of our creators, nice spooky recipe this week, and Frank is wrapping it up for us. So go ahead and go to our go to our website, and you will see everyone's fun, creative, spooky recipes.
All right, this is how we do the braised cauliflower. I'm just putting a small um, layer in the bottom of my bowl. This happens to be a clay pot that was fired, but it is oven safe. When I do this, I make sure that the bay leaves are on the bottom. I take my little
Is there a
brain
reason for that? Sorry to interrupt. The bay leaves on the bottom. Is it just
because
for
I
the
want to make
flavor?
sure the flavor of the bay saturates the liquid, which absorbs into the cauliflower. If I put the bay leaf on the top, it won't stretch. And
Okay,
then
perfect.
literally all I'm going to do, and I try not to necessarily dump it all on the, I want to leave a little bit of white because it'll turn gray, and I
Give
want
that
that.
brain look.
There you go. Now,
Oh, this
the
is
nice thing
awesome.
about this is this mixture that we made is so good on pasta. It's so good on rice. So this kind of dish could be a meal in and about itself.
Mhm. Yeah, I
So I'm
love how
just
you're
like,
taking a real yummy dish and turning it spooky in your own way. This is awesome.
yeah, and this is a very traditional side dish, but it's great for pasta. It's great if you have folks who are meat free and you want to make them feel like you're really cooking for everybody. All right,
Yeah.
so now all I'm doing is I'm just double checking. I want to make sure I have enough liquid in the bottom of this so that it'll braise.
And that's a cute little is that like a little Dutch oven casserole dish? That's cute.
It's a handmade clay fired pot. And I will be
Yes.
honest, I love to shop at the thrift stores for things like this. But in this case, I saw this and I love the color palette. It happens to be so it's something I bought to keep here. All right, brains are ready. See it?
See it and love it. It's already looking like brains and it's just going to look even spookier once it comes out of the oven.
This little sucker is going in the oven.
Okay, what's the
I'm gonna
temperature? I
leave
see 400. How long do you keep it in
400,
there? Okay.
about 40 minutes. I
Okay.
would say after 30 minutes, you start to check it. All right, so now we start some fun with the other parts of this.
Nice. Is that
Now remember,
pastry?
this is just regular pizza dough,
Pizza dough. Got it.
just regular pizza dough. I bought this pizza dough. As a matter of fact, here, let me show you when I bought it. I let it. I put a little bit of olive oil. I used the scissors to cut the pieces off earlier, and I let it rise. So it rose a couple hours. I had a piece of plastic over it, so it's easier to work with. I think what a lot of people will do if they buy pizza dough from the grocery store, they work with it too cold. And what ends up happening is that it won't, you can't work with it. All right, so I have taken my stretched out. Now keep in mind a couple things. I don't have very big pans while I'm here, so I'm not necessarily doing the traditional long one. When I do this at home, I actually will do almost like a jelly roll and do them all on the counter so that I can actually do the swirl. Now, do not worry about the holes because you want them to burst. All right. So the
Okay.
first thing I'm going to do is I put a little bit more of my maggots. I put a couple more of my worms because I want them to be on the top. And then and I will say, I will tell you, if I were by myself, I would be used doing my hands. I just would get like, ugh, I gotta use my hands. My hands are clean. I don't care.
Yeah, I use my hands all the time. On live, I tend to try not to because so I don't have to leave and wash my hands and stuff. But I agree with you
Yeah.
1,000%.
All right. So we now have our first entree or innard. And all we're going to do is we're going to wrap it up. Okay. Be gentle. You don't want it to break too fast. And for those of you who are not biology majors or clinicians, remember the intestines are not necessarily super thick. So what I'm going to do now is I got a little bit of seam there. You can see everything poking through. I'm going to roll it over so that it's at least seam side down. And I'm going to just very easily make a bit of an intestine-ish
So
look,
creative.
okay?
Make sure you guys are tapping the screens. Frank is making the last of our spooky series. These are intestines filled with some really spooky stuff, you guys. Tap those
All
screens.
right,
We are over 12,000 likes, Frank. Way to go. Keep it up.
cool. All right, I'm going to put, like over here, it's a little thicker. I'm just going to put a little tiny, because I don't want it to burst, little tiny hole. Now, here's the trick. You want them to look like intestines, right? Take
Hmm.
some of your tomato paste that's been thinned with water. You can use a brush. I don't have a brush, so I'm using my fingers, and just lightly brush it on. When this bakes, the red will go brownish and it'll look kind of gross, which is
You guys,
sort
go
of.
ahead and share this live. I want people to see this. This looks so cool. Go ahead and share this with like at least 5 people you know. This has to be seen. Wow.
And
And that's
don't
okay
worry
if it
about
kind of
them
pops
bursting.
open.
Yep,
That's what I was
because
getting
it's
ready to
thin.
ask you.
So don't worry about them bursting. Don't worry about, where you go. So now we'll do another one. Same way. In this case,
Which
I'm
is
just going to kind of.
is there one that I can't remember if that one was bigger or smaller? Which one's the large?
This is about the same. This is about, actually, I think what I'm going to do is, yeah, I'm going to do it this way.
Oh, there it
We'll
is.
need
Okay.
yeah.
Awesome.
It's a little warm in the kitchen, so everything is a little harder to work
Kaz said you need something brown coming out of the colon.
with. It's when it cooks, Kaz. Give it time. Get when it cooks. I want to get these suckers in the oven for you. All right, same thing
Mm.
now. Gonna take my rice, scatter it on the bottom. You gotta have these bodies are CSI proof, so they have been in the field for a while.
I love it.
Put a few worms in there. Now you could also use if you were gonna make this meat free, you could use sprouts. Would do the same effect.
Now I like how you're putting the maggots and the worms down first. That way, if there's like an explosion, you'll see that, and it gives the effect, right?
Right, and because they're going to end up on the top, they
Mm-hmm.
won't change colors as quickly as the ones that are in the inside will. Because remember, I still want this edible. So I put the rice in there as as more of the stuffing, but I want the white rice for the effect. So
Right.
that'll be on the top. And when I flip them over to bake, I will have this opportunity. Oops. Now, I gotta say, creative cooking has its challenges because you never know how it's going to be out. But that's what Halloween fun and Christmas fun when you're doing these creative type dishes. That's half the fun of it.
Yeah.
Now, could you put shredded cheese in here? Of course. I
Good
try
to
not
know.
to. Oh yeah, shredded cheese would be absolutely great here. I have an overfilling issue. I seem to always overfill. I'm not going to comment why, but I do. All right, same issue here. I'm rolling over to make the seam, pinching a little bit. If you've got a heavy hand, this is a place where you just want to have a little bit of patience.
Thank you guys for sending the gifts. Thank you guys for the likes. We are at 13.6K. You're doing amazing, Frank. I love this. You guys are following Food Talk. This will be up, guys. So,
Parchment paper is your friend.
yeah.
All right, so now we're just finishing very gently your intestines, okay? Now, the first time I made this, it was because I was going to a book club meeting, a book club, and the book club book story was about werewolves. So I wasn't as worried about how official it was looking. I just was going for the gore factor. But I actually encourage people to, you know, check it out. See what, look at an art book, Google it, find out what it's going to look like. Matter of fact, what I did that year is I actually took some remnant. I had a little extra dough left over, and then I actually stuffed it, and I made a kidney.
That's awesome.
So I didn't necessarily just stay with the innards. I did all of the, I went and decided let me use everything I had. So if you look at the picture that I posted of this earlier, it actually has, the intestines. It looks like a kidney or a pancreas.
He's making intestines right now, stuffed with some maggots and worms, aka rice and noodles. And he's just
And
giving it a
beef.
little gore factor with some blood right now.
Yeah, the gore factor is great. All this is tomato paste and a little bit of water. And when it cooks, it just gives it this kind of gross brownish, reddish cooked flavor. Now, and it also tastes good. I actually like it. If you could use a brush, it would work. I mean, I just don't have a silicone brush here. All right, so now I just want to check it. I do want to keep these separate. I don't want to have them touch. So, gotta play with what you got. If you don't have enough room, just play around with
How
it.
much do you think that's going to expand, or rise, rather? Like,
It'll
is that
expand.
why
And
you're
it
giving
might,
it plenty of space?
yeah,
Okay.
it could potentially double. It depends. All right,
Okay.
this is it. I don't have to do anything. I mean, I could do something. I could add more flavoring if I wanted to. I could top it with grated cheese. I could put everything but the bagel seasoning. Doesn't really matter. I'm not. I'm going to leave it at this. It's going to go in the oven, 400 degrees, and this will take, depending on your oven, it could take about 30 minutes.
Someone said expand will mean bloated. Yeah. The intestines is about to get bloated.
That's right. Expansion is bloating.
Hey
All
guys,
right.
thanks for tapping the screens. We're at 15.1K. Let's go, Frank.
All
Yeah.
right.
Happy day.
So, did you guys, anybody catch my last live here where I talk about these?
No, I didn't. I want to know. What is that?
So, when we bought this beach house, it has an electric range, and I am forever burning myself because I am used to seeing a flame. I did some research, and these are a ceramic cover. There are two of them, and they wash up really easily. I can use them as a cutting board. I can use them as a serving tray. But what they also go on, because they have a heat-proof silicone feet, it sits right over the burner. So I can now use this as my cutting table, my prep table. I don't have to worry if there is a semi-warm, if there's a semi-warm burner under there. I keep them on all the time. I only take them off when I need the actual burner.
That's really cool. Did you get those on Amazon or find them in person somewhere?
I actually did get these on Amazon. I saw some tin ones that they didn't thrill me, to be honest. The tin ones made me a little bit nervous because I felt like they might break too easily. And so I decided I don't want the tin ones. I'm actually looking for something, and I don't know where it went. Oh, there it is.
Tap those screens, you guys. The numbers are going up. Thank you guys so much. Share this live as well.
All right. Ash, you want to talk a little bit about Food Talk TV? I'm going to make a couple more of these while that's baking. I'm going to put the timer on.
So this is Frank. He's part of our lovely food family. So if you follow Food Talk TV, you will also see all of our awesome creators. But if you want to go ahead and follow Frank, it's Frank Mentor. Is it Frank underscore Mentor or Frank Mentor underscore?
It's Frank underscore SF. Yes.
Yeah, Frank underscore Mentor SF. And the SF is for, are you in San Francisco?
Yeah. Normally, I am in San Francisco. That is where I am home based. and that's where I usually operate out of. Right now, I'm here I'm in Provincetown. I've been here for several weeks. I head home again later next week.
Awesome. So you guys make sure you guys are following Food Talk because all of these recipes, along with all the other creators who have done spooky recipes this week, the recipes will be up on the website. So we have a website, and shout out to Frank for all that he does for us. We appreciate it. So make sure you're following him and the rest of us because we do go live every day. One of us will be on here every day. And usually I'm Mondays, but we just switched out, so I'm in his box today. I'll be here usually on Mondays, but like I said, follow us and you'll keep up to date with who's going live what day. And as always, we really appreciate you guys. And thanks for tapping the screens. We are at 16.6K, you guys. You guys are awesome. And he's got
All
those
right,
antennas
so
in the oven right now.
yes, so I am just going to cook. I got some in the oven, and I'm going to cook off the rest of the ground beef. Now, remember, um, I purposely do this. I could have pre-cooked this earlier, but then I realized I am always amazed on the comments I get from my lives from folks who have small kitchens, don't have big families, and they're always curious, what do they do when they don't have so much room? So I like to, when I'm here at the beach house, which is a lot smaller, I like to sort of mimic that and let people see what it's like. So I'm using a small pan. What does that mean? I have to do several batches. I'm okay with that. What I'm going to
I
do now,
appreciate that. You're being relatable to people. I'm in a small kitchen right now and I go to work and it's like a dream kitchen. So I'm going back and forth between the two. So it means a lot for me and others for you to show how accommodate for smaller cooking space.
well, I wish I had a dream kitchen in either location, but it is what it is, and you just adapt. So what I'm going to do now is I just threw in some more ground meat, and let's see. I am going to throw in here. I'm going to throw in some more onions, but because I want them a little bit more cooked, I'm going to throw them in raw.
Amen. Someone said, yes, my kitchen is tiny, but I'm still blessed.
You know
Hallelujah.
what? That's exactly what I think. I am so blessed and privileged to be able to have a place like this after so many years that I will take it the way it is.
Yes, especially being in California, these tiny little kitchens, you could probably get a huge kitchen in another state. So I'm just blessed to be able to, live here, whatever, we make it work. And that's the beauty of being a good cook. You will enjoy it, even if you're in a tiny space.
Yeah, you just make it work. I think sometimes everybody starts thinking about we need all of the bells and whistles. I'll be honest, I have a lot of the bells and whistles at home, and I will say I don't use them all. All right, I don't want to take out another cutting board. I'm just going to use. I know Sherry does this. I know some everyone. Just cut your herbs. It's
I'm
no
going to start doing
biggie. Nobody's watching. You do not need to show. I mean, I happen to love. I find using my knife very cathartic. I love using a knife, so I tend to not use anything um, that is going to make that process too fast for me. I don't particularly like it. So
that.
I'm okay with chopping. I love dicing, mincing. I'll be honest, I buy the whole chicken or turkey so I can debone it. I love the process. Once you learn it, it's interesting. So I tend to, but right now here, I only have two just inexpensive knives, so I don't want to deal with it. So I'm not going to dirty yet another one because usually I have Paul and my housemate around to help me clean. All right, remember we talked about this canned tomato? This has been
It was
out of
gross.
Yeah, this was frozen, and I took this out about 6 o'clock. You see how much liquid's coming out,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not even fully defrosted, and I can already start to peel it. See how easy it
That's
is?
that is so cool. I'm so glad you let us know that you can freeze things and do that because I've been like
Yeah.
blanching them to do the same thing. I'm definitely trying this out.
Yeah, I saw this on a TikTok, and it's funny. I saw, you see things on TikTok, but the person who did it, I happen to follow and really appreciate their technique on foods, and they have so I thought, all right. So I watched it, and I said, I'm going to try it. I had all of these tomato dishes. So last week I made a tomato. I made a dish with just I used tomatoes were my liquid, so I chopped up all the tomatoes. I didn't drain them, threw them all in the pan. Oh, I made a soup, a white bean and sausage soup. But I used the tomatoes as my liquid, so as they cook down. So I'm trying to use up all these tomatoes. Tomorrow I'm making puttanesca. No, I'm sorry. Tomorrow I'm making panzanella. You know what that is?
I don't. I feel like I've heard that. Panzanella, you said, right?
Yep. It's bread salad. So you
Bread
take
salad.
all, yep, you take leftover hard, super hard bread that's
Okay.
stale, cube it up, and I like the bread, I mean, a couple days old. I don't want to be able to, knock somebody out hard. And then I'll take fresh tomatoes, fresh herbs, oil, vinegar. Sometimes I'll put olives in there. I've also put cooked shrimp to make it more of a shrimp dish. And you mix it all up. And it's a way the olive oil and the tomato juice will actually soften the bread, and you serve it as a salad. It's just fun. It's very carb intense. So if you might have to, if you are on keto or any of the carb situations there, you would definitely have to look for alternative. But I like panzanella, and it's just a way of using leftover bread. And what it happens is the liquids in whatever you're working with is what softens it so that it's well. If you grew up like I did, where you would take your end of a loaf of bread and you would dip it in the tomato sauce or the juice of the meat if you had drippings, it's that same kind of flavor.
I'm getting so hungry with all this talk. Someone said, can you can the tomatoes after freezing them?
Yes, you could. Well, you wouldn't freeze them. You would can them first, and you wouldn't need to. I mean, the idea of canning them, you wouldn't need to freeze them, but you would have to can them using best practices on canning. But that being said, that doesn't mean you couldn't freeze them in canning jars. You just have to leave a suitable space because if you freeze anything in glass, there's always going to be the chance that it'll explode. But
What
you
time
could. I
are you
mean, this
doing
is
that tomorrow, Frank? Someone said, I hope I'm off work to see that tomorrow.
canning. No, I don't think I'm canning. If I do the tomatoes, it'll be sometime this weekend. But the problem here, I'll be honest, if I do anything like that and I leave it in the freezer, if
Mm-hmm.
there's a power outage, I'm in California. I don't have a way to know that I don't necessarily know if it was bad or not. If it defrosted and then went bad, unless I have somebody come in and check it. All right, so I've got my second batch of ground meat cooked off. I'm just draining it because I do not need all of that extra fat for anything I'm going to use it with. I now have something that I can use and any kind of mix that I want moving forward. And that is sort of the nice element of this. All right. Now, in this pan, all right, I am keeping the grease. I'm keeping the flavor. All right. I'm not adding any more. I'm on a medium. And now I am going to add green stuff.
You guys, we hit over 20K. Thank you guys for tapping the screen. Appreciate you guys. And if you guys missed it, he's got some intestines in the oven. So stick around and see what those look like when they come out. This is our wrap up of our spooky series. So what are you doing now, Frank? Is that kale?
Well, this is kale. And all I am doing with the kale, to be honest, is I want something to be able put um, to put the cauliflower on. And I had this again. Remember, this is all harvestable. This all came out of the garden. So all I'm doing is cooking this down. In the bottom of the pan, of course, it's got the beef fat because it was left over. I've got some garlic residue in there. I've got some onion residue in there. all I'm going to do now is I'm just going to cook kale down. Kale needs to cook. I already cut it. I massaged it earlier. You know, people like to massage their kale because it softens things. Whatever. That's my
He's
feeling.
making
I want.
intestines. This is a spooky recipe. Sorry to interrupt you, Frank, but people are saying I'm late. What's in the oven? Yes, you heard intestines, so stick around and see. Okay, now
All
what were
right.
you saying?
So I'm just all I'm really doing here is I wanted to braise off or saute off really some kale, but I'm not a I like kale. I put it in certain kinds of dishes. I'll tell you one of my favorite kale recipes is to make a salad with small diced kale like this and um, with citrus and let me see where it is citrus and fennel. I will buy fresh fennel and citrus oranges, peel the oranges, chop up the fennel, mix them with the kale, and I'm telling you, what a great salad. And the nice thing is, it's a great salad for entertaining because it doesn't get soft fast.
And there's also brains in the oven. Brains and well, a brain and intestines in the oven, you guys. Spooky series.
All right, I am going to do something in about 2 minutes, so pardon the noise because I want to put the fan on when I do this.
And make sure you guys are tapping the screens. We appreciate it. We're at 21.7K. This has been a great live. I'm entertained, and it seems like you guys are too. Thank you guys for joining.
So years ago, I used to make a chicken dish where I would stir fry chicken pieces. And just, I'm going to put this fan on because that'll set the alarm off.
Yeah, that's
Um,
another problem with the small kitchen. My smoke detector is like right by my stove, and it's
well,
crazy.
and of course, today is the day I chose to put the storm doors on. All right, so I feel like I am making my mess. I want my pans back. All right, you ever make chicken or vegetables? It's nice and hot. Put your balsamic vinegar in now. I happen to get these little packets one day because it allows me to store it better. And then let the balsamic vinegar just flavor it.
Mm-mm-mm. Sounds so good. It's making me want a Capri salad.
You know, and this is simple. It's got just salt, pepper, garlic, a little bit of the stuff from the cooking, and that's it. Now, but what happens when you throw it in this way is the vinegar gives a bit of a bite. It's sort of like, it reminds me, I'll tell you, it reminds me of Brussels sprouts that people roast and put balsamic vinegar on.
Yes, I do that with a little agave or honey.
Yep.
So good. Mm-mm-mm.
All right. We are almost at time.
Okay, is that your timer? 9 minutes in the back? I think
9 minutes, and we are
yeah.
going to be so with the kale because I like Parmesan cheese. I'm putting a little bit of Parmesan cheese. You could spritz this with lemon if you want. Red pepper flakes goes really well. All
Mm.
right, now we are going to switch up.
I'm starving. So whenever that timer goes off, will both the brain and the intestines be done? Or are you just going to check and see where you're at?
I am going to check and see where I am at. So give me a minute because I need to just adjust the camera a bit
Okay.
so that I can have
Guys,
some room.
make sure you're following Food Talk TV, you guys. We have so many awesome food creators, food content creators on here. We go live every day, y'all. So stay
All
here
right.
because we're going to see the brain and the intestines come out of the oven real soon.
So I'm going to cheat a little bit.
How we cheating? That is so cute.
$3 thrift store.
I got to go thrifting. Man, they don't got no good stuff in the thrift store out here. Is that from San Francisco thrifting?
No, it was up at the thrift store here, at the community thrift store here.
Hmm. Man.
All right,
Oh,
so what
it
I
looks
am
like
just
he
doing
has
is
on
I am using the braised kale or the sauteed kale as as the greens, as if you were walking in the forest and you come across that torn out body.
the I love
And
it.
here's where I'm going to cheat a little bit. Because guess what I got?
Oh,
I have one done already. Because
wow.
I was not sure if the other one would finish in time, so I did two. So I guess I'm going to
Well,
be
you
having a
are
lot of
awesome,
meat.
Frank.
I am going to have a lot of meat-free opportunities this week. Now, you know that this is, and this is going to be a challenge, because I do not want it to break. So that is the problem with the cauliflower. It will break, which is why most times they will serve it already broken up. But remember, this is brains, and brains are supposed to be broken when they've been eaten and you come across them.
Hmm. Hey, Frank, can you try to share where you got those little stove covers? You said you got them off Amazon, but a couple people have asked. Maybe put it in your story or something later.
Yeah, I could put that in. I think we have an Amazon favorites on Food Talk TV.
Yeah, so make sure you're following. A lot of you with questions, don't worry. All of this will be up on the website. Give us ample time, and all of this will be up. So be sure you're following us so you don't miss out. Now, Frank, are you making it? Are you adding some more blood and
I am
more
just
gore
giving it a little
factor?
bit of the yeah. I'm just giving a little gore factor here.
I'm
Now, the
curious.
nice
Does
part
anyone
is
eat brains? Like, is there an animal that anyone eats the brains of it in like any
I
other
have
cultures?
I have. There isn't
And
much I
what?
haven't. So this is. I just want to show folks. This is how soft the broccoli will get.
Mm.
And
Someone wants
if
to
you are
see the brain a
somebody,
little better. Sorry to interrupt. Can you move the camera just slightly? There we go. Wow. Oh, juicy brain juices.
it's seeping out, baby. It's seeping out. All right.
See
So
what it
now,
goes to.
theoretically, that's how I would serve this if I was doing the brain. I think it's probably you can see it better from this angle. How's that? But what
Oh,
I'm
that
going to
looks
do now is
beautiful.
I'm going to, I want to show off my little center indent. Now,
Absolutely.
if I were home, I could have also taken my leftover rice, mixed it in with the leftover tomato sauce, and
Mm-hmm.
I would have just served it on what would look like a dirty rice. Would have been just the same thing.
So, you guys, this is a great recipe, even if it's not spooky season. So, keep that in mind.
Yeah, this is a very traditional Italian recipe. Actually, it's a popular side dish. It doesn't have to be. Normally you could make this with a super big, um, one or two big cauliflowers. You can do it in a big Dutch oven, and it will be fine. And the idea will be, um, it will be a great side dish, and you just serve it alongside with the extra tomato sauce, or make a thing of ziti or rice.
So, apparently, a lot of people eat real brains, cow
Yes,
brains,
people eat
squirrel brains,
many
horse
different kinds.
brains.
Yeah, brains. A lot of people grow up with them. They're definitely something that I think you grow up with.
Mm-hmm.
All right, are we ready?
Are we ready for the intestines, you guys?
Are we ready?
I'm ready.
Voila!
That looks so good. I thought it was gonna like expand onto each other. It still looks like intestines. Did it bust open
There
here?
is. No, only the one spot. It only busted open in the one spot. So now I'm gonna, because I got news for you. If you ever go behind the scenes in a restaurant, this is exactly what they're doing until they serve it to you. So don't get worried. That's what happens.
Make sure you guys are following Food Talk TV so that you can catch all of our lives. One of us goes live every day. And all of our recipes will be on the website within like a day or two. So don't miss anything, you guys. Wow. Now that is something I'd want to see when I show up to a Halloween party.
And remember, they were two different pieces of intestine.
Yes.
I wanted to do that because now they cook like they're going to come together, but they're still separate. I can now weave them in
Nice. Just
so
like
that I
real
can fit my
intestines are.
board. Yep, just like that.
Someone said
And we now
intestinal
have, oh,
stromboli.
look, there's a maggot slipping out. See it a little bit here. Let me move my camera so you can see, you can get that kind of, Frank, you're truly a sick man. Look.
Yep.
And you see, we've got the little grub here. We've got the maggots.
And the worm. I see
We
a
got the
worm sticking out.
maggots. Yep. And then we've got our brains. I'm going to try and leave the tripod in this angle so I can cut it. How's that? Is that a good angle?
Yes, it looks like a good angle. Maybe just a bit closer. The angle's good though. But yeah, I get you. I struggle with the same thing.
Yeah, it's all right. So let's see. Let me grab a where is my
Someone said, "Oh my God, now I know how Ashton feels," because she was in here earlier needing an anti-nausea pill.
sorry
So
about that,
now
folks.
it looks more real that it's done.
Well, I got to tell you, I'll be happy when TikTok allows multiple cameras. All right, let's cut a
100%.
piece.
Ooh. Now you got a good picture of this before you did, right? Oh yeah, you already had some because you made this.
Yes, I am actually going to take a good thing you reminded me. Now that I have it cut, because I want to be able to see it, I am going to take one good clean shot again. So,
Yes,
folks,
show us
this
all
is
this.
my braised cauliflower brains and meat stuffed maggot infested dough, intestines. And then,
Yeah.
of course, you could serve it with a little bit of a leftover tomato sauce, which could be either draped on here or just added on top of your brains.
So some blood.
Yep,
Yummy. Someone keeps saying intestine stromboli, which is very clever because that's kind of
it
what it
is
is.
a version of it, and oh, that's good. It is very much like an intestine stromboli. But it's not rolled; it's only connected, so there's not a layer of dough inside, which because I don't want it to cook so long. I want it to be able to cook quick.
I see.
What do
So
y'all think? Did I meet your expectations?
I think the best, everything was amazing, you guys. The whole week of spooky recipes, but this one here, it might be the best. It just looks, it's so creative. What do you guys think? I don't know. Might have to make a
Who's in the
vote.
room from Who is in the room tonight from Food Talk TV?
We got Bama, we got so Sherry, we got Cass cooking with Cass, we got Chef Bradley, we had October Dragonfly, Christine in here. We had Ashton, and I think she got sick to her
Who
stomach.
wants a worm? Anybody
Who
need a
wants the
worm?
word? I'll take it.
Oh my
I love.
God! If you are a texture person, meaning you like to eat with textures, this is a great meal. Now,
I am.
if you if you don't roll the dough out so thin, it'll be more like a stromboli. I like it thin because I want to be able to serve it with the tomato sauce or a cheese sauce on the side. Once the effect is, if you uncover this in a metal pan on a buffet for Halloween, that's half the fun of it. But I love this. Do you see the color? That is what happens when you add the mixture of tomato paste and water and brush it.
Oh, okay. So the water mixed with the tomato paste will give it that effect, like kind of like an egg
Yep.
wash. Okay, cool.
It's
Never.
basically an egg wash that just gives it a little bit of red color.
You are so creative. Were you like a science major or something?
No, I was a computer geek in school.
Well, you're just good at everything then. This is so
No, I
creative.
grew up with my dad used to love to create in the kitchen.
Hmm.
So, and my mom was a cake decorator, and she loved to make unusual cakes, theme cakes. So I get a bigger kick out of. A couple years ago, I did a book club for the first time, and this ended up being the most fun I did was in the book clubs coming out with the food to match the theme.
That's
All
awesome.
right, I am
Please
just
guys
scanning
vote
so
for
I
my
could see some
chat.
comments. All right, I'm looking at comments. I haven't been able to see comments except for what you've read. Folks, I hope that you enjoyed this tonight. I'll hang out if you've got questions. Ash, it was great. Please follow Ashby Cooking. We got Sherry Skinner, Cooking with Kaz, Sketchy Chef.
Sexy
Um,
chef.
we
Saw that.
also have Guada Cooks. We have Just Like Granny, Gluten Free Mama Ann, and Cook It with Erica are all parts of our team. And of course, Chef Bradley.
Yes, and one more time, give us exactly what you made.
Sure.
This is
Here,
our
I'll do
spooky
Vanna
here.
White. We have our cauliflower braised brains. So these are a braised cauliflower you can do in a covered bowl with a crushed tomato braise that has lots of fresh herbs. Sitting on top, a quick sautéed kale with balsamic vinegar. And then below it, we have our innards, which are our intestines, which is a meat stuffed intestine with white beans, and for maggots, and we have rice, and we even have little worms in there, and ground meat.
That's so awesome. Now you got a good picture of the insides of it because I think when people see that, it already looks like an intestine. Then once you see the insides, it's very much giving Halloween vibes, and I love that.
Oh,
So
totally!
also
I
you
can't wait. I haven't
share
eaten
your
dinner.
little put your little tomato trick up or something. A lot of people were asking about that. How you
Oh, the
doing that?
tomato trick. Did we have any? So, oh wait, okay. Let me show you because it's even softer now. All right, I'm going to dry it off a minute. So early on, I mentioned that when I made this dish to make the tomatoes, you can either use your favorite crushed tomato. This is just whatever I had in the grocery store here. But if you happen to hit on a sale of fresh tomatoes or your garden has a bunch, take your tomato, put a crisscross X on the bottom after you wash it, throw them in the freezer for 6 hours to overnight, let them defrost, and guess what happens? The skin
Feels
peels right off. That's how I made the
like
crushed tomatoes for this. And literally, as they defrosted, they reduced in size. I just peeled them back. I took a scissors, I cut the whole piece off, and then I crushed them with my hands. I saved the residual water that they thaw in, and I add it back depending on how thick I want the crushed tomatoes.
I wonder if Sketchy
That was my
Chef
favorite
that
TikTok.
little hack because she makes salsa. That'd be great, maybe for her. I'm curious to see if she'll try that.
I think it works for anything where you don't want a skin of a tomato. So I think that's where it comes into.
That is
Well,
awesome.
what time is it? 8 o'clock? I don't know. What time did we start? I
We
forgot.
started at about 7 your time. It's 5 where I'm at. So
All
yeah, we've
right.
been here an
Well,
hour.
all right. Well, thank you, everybody. I hope here. Let me see if I can give you a tasting shot.
Yeah, and then maybe a little bit of a close up. I want to see the insides of the intestine and a close up on the brain if you can after you get a bite in.
All right. Can you see me?
Someone said, I'm so grateful for that tip, Frank. And what did you cook? That's intestines stuffed with ground beef, maggots, and worms, aka spaghetti and rice. And then you put the beans in there too, right?
Right. I put white beans, white rice, and the actual noodles are Japanese pre-cooked noodles you get at the grocery store,
Oh, cool.
usually found in the deli section. Can you see this? Can you see me? I'm going to eat it.
Yes, yes.
Oh my.
Mmm.
And I will say, if you took your tomato sauce and add it,
You
works
got to.
just as well. All right.
Yes.
Oh my God, that's
My
good.
scissors list itself is like, that looks delicious. I just want it.
I was going to
But
share this. It may not get shared. All right. Ready to see what it looks like served up?
let's see.
If you were going to do the cauliflower fully, you would just normally wedge it.
Yeah, someone said, is this a challenge? This is wrapping up our Spooky Foods Week. We've had all of our creators do a fun, spooky recipe. So follow us and check out our website, and all the recipes will be there, as well as these lives will go on YouTube. So follow us so you can keep up with when things are getting posted. And appreciate you guys. We're at
So literally, that's
26.5K.
so that's how you would serve this. You would just break it apart like cauliflower do. If you were going to make this and already had the cauliflower broken up, I would say do this in like a brownie pan so that you don't have to move it as much. You can just take it right out of the oven and put it right onto the table when they're broken up. But since I wanted to go for the brain effect, how's that? Does that show you how soft it is?
It does bring it a little bit closer to the camera just so we can see. Now, this is the brain. Okay, a little bit
Yep,
back
these
so
are
it'll
our.
focus. Yes, awesome. Taste
Oh my,
test.
taste test is good. Put a little bit more on there. And the nice thing about this, it's still very fresh because I used fresh tomatoes in the other version. I used canned crushed tomatoes in the one that's still in the oven. Matter of fact, I am going to pull that out now, and you all get a peek to see what it looks like in real time.
Yes, let's see this.
Although this damn bowl is so hot.
And that's the cutest little thing. I love that.
Yes,
Brain.
Miss Sherry knows my affinity for thrifting.
Yes, and Chef Bradley's just as sick and twisted as us. He said, "Brains and intestines. I'm ready to eat."
All right, can you see the
Yes, this is
brown
for
pot thing?
Halloween.
There you go. That is what it looks like. So now normally when I would go to finish this, I give it a little stir. It looks a little dry on top. I'll add a little bit more sauce and this is done. And you know it's done. Now what I normally would do if this, this is a good, I'm glad I remembered to do this. If you were making this and you felt your tomato sauce was too thick or it was too loose, just leave it, put it back in the oven for 5 minutes with the lid off. Here's how you know it's done. You can slide your knife all the way in with no pressure. That's all it is. Remember, it's a vegetable that you could eat raw, so it doesn't take long. You know, it doesn't have to be like you're not killing anything technically in it. And you just, dress it up and you're good to go. Tomorrow, this will be great to have as a lunch, reheated. It'll be great in a tortilla as well. So that's the one we just made. That's the alternate one, but they both came out. You could put this in a tortilla or a burrito for a vegetarian sandwich. You can eat it just like this, any way you like. All right,
Yes, and I
folks.
bet even that kale salad underneath that brain is good. So everything looks
Yeah,
real
it is.
good.
It does. It just has a little. It still has some texture,
It
and
has
the
that
balsamic
balsamic.
vinegar totally makes it. So I think this is interesting. Maybe I'll do this. So this is the way I would serve this. I don't have a clean bowl, but I'll do it this way.
They
So
said it looks
normally, what I
great,
would.
Frank. Thank you.
You're
Yeah.
welcome. So normally, then what I would serve this is I would just um, put it on the rice and let the sauce absorb into the rice. So there's lots of ways to adapt this for non-Halloween dishes. All right.
Absolutely.
Well, that being said, Ash, thank you for joining. Everybody from Food Talk family, thank you for joining me tonight. I am happy to have wrapped up our spooky series. We will be getting a second series. Um, I think I don't know the date, but we do have another. We have all of our series are on our events page, and they will be listed in a blog. I usually try and do a full series post and let folks know exactly what we've got in mind and coming up. But thanks everybody. Thanks for all the likes, all the gifts, all the shares. I hope you enjoyed this.
Yes, thank you. It was awesome being, watching you cook. Anytime I will pop in your box. I enjoyed this. Thank you guys for joining. And just like he said, make sure you're following Food Talk TV because that's where you get access to all of us, including our recipes, lives that go on YouTube, and just to keep you up to date with what we're going to do next. So appreciate
We
you
got
guys.
YouTube, Pinterest, Facebook, the website, foodtalktv.com. We've got Cooking Club on Wednesday nights. We've got all of our creators. We've got Twitter
Twitter, yeah.
now. Twitter, it took
TT.
us a year to get ready for it, but we've got that too. All right. Good night, everybody.
Peace out. Till next time, y'all. Bye.